Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. This week, we're talking about Senobi breathing. Have you heard of this one? So I'm not totally sure why it's resurfacing now because the study was from back in 2010. But anyway, headlines are saying that Senobi breathing helps you lose weight. And so I heard that, I made a note, and I skipped the article. I went directly back to the study. So this was 2010. The study looked at 40 women in Japan. They were all aged 40 to 50. 20 were in the quote unquote healthy category, and 20 were in the overweight category, and they determined overweight based on both BMI and body fat percentage. So the researchers had the participants do 1 minute of Senobi breathing 3 times per day. In their abstract, it says, after 1 minute of Senobi breathing, substantial upregulation of sympathetic nerve activity and increased urinary hormone secretion was observed in the overweight women, but none in the healthy controls. We'll talk more about the controls thing in a second. It says, moreover, after repeating the exercise for a month, the obese patients showed a significant loss of body fat. The Senobi breathing exercise was found to be effective for weight loss in obesity. They looked at heart rate variability, and then in the urine, they tested noradrenaline, estradiol, and growth hormone. It says they saw a significant increase in all three, and ultimately a decrease in body fat percentage. So admittedly, this is intriguing. So let's start with understanding what Senobi breathing is, and then we can go back to some of the details of the study to assess where this leaves us. So Senobi breathing is a Japanese breathing technique. To do it, you stand with your feet hips width apart. You extend your arms overhead, and then lean back. You're going to bend your knees a little bit to protect your back as you tilt back. So your head's even going to tilt back a little bit. It's almost like your chest is going toward the sky. And be sure you don't go back too far. You don't want to compress any part of the spine. But you lean back and take 3 breaths of 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. So it's 10 seconds per breath. You do that 3 times, that's 30 seconds. Then you stand up again and you do the second type of Senobi breathing where you basically do the same thing, but this time your fingers, instead of your arms being straight up, you intertwine your fingers and turn your palms toward the sky or toward the ceiling. And then again, leaning back, bend the knees a little. We're not compressing any part of the spine. 3 breaths, 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out gets you another 30 seconds. So doing those two together is like a minute of the Senobi breathing. So what's happening? Why might this be effective? So it all, in my mind, it connects to the nervous system. So essentially, the breathing and the posture activate the nervous system. And we've talked about this many times. So the sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. That's your stress response. Noradrenaline, which they saw upregulated, increase in the study participants, noradrenaline upregulates the fight or flight response, which they say tends to be lower in those with high body fat percentage. And the increase in heart rate can help restore balance to the nervous system. Then deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Opening your chest and the front of your body activates it too. Now, I believe that the combination of these two, so you sort of upregulate with that noradrenaline, that sympathetic nervous system, and then you also activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And what I've seen in some research, and we talked about this, I think it was in our triggers episodes, where our system can almost get stuck in that stress response, that we don't move through it. We sort of live in it. And I wonder if that's what they're talking about, whereby increasing the noradrenaline helps us move through the stress response. And then that breathing, the open chest, helps us then come down the other side of that stress response and reactivate the rest and digest. Then we get to the 3 times a day thing, because they did the breathing exercise for 1 minute before each meal. Now, we've talked about this many times, right? 1, what better time to activate rest and digest than before we eat? And 2, habit stacking, right? So if we want something new to happen, we attach it to something that happens anyway or is already happening. And that is hopefully eating 3 times a day. So they also talk about the posture of the stretch can also improve posture. Those with poor posture tend to have a lower basal metabolic rate. So they talk about the arm posture and the 2 different hand positions that change the location of the scapula. So that's your shoulder blades. So changing that hand position changes where the shoulder blades are sitting on your back. And that forces breathing from the abdomen and then from the thoracic spine with those 2 different hand postures. And they believe that this may activate the brown fat that's often sort of in that spinal area. So my logic says this is intriguing, and yet I would not hang my hat on this study. I think 40 people is a very small sample size. I think dividing them between, they had 20 and 20 between the healthy and the high BMI, high body fat group, that's not technically a control, right? A proper control group would be, you give a group of people with the same qualities in each group and then doing nothing, right? So do we really have a control group of people with the same BMI and body fat percentage not doing some of these things? We have 0 information about what they ate, what exercise they did, what other things any of the participants did over the 30 days. And the thing, I said this before, but the thing about upregulating the sympathetic nervous system may be, to me, that, we have to move through that fight or flight response, and that may have an impact on our metabolism. And perhaps the body also then sees this movement as eustress, like maybe what we would call eustress is good stress, for lack of a better term other than good there. But maybe the body sees the combination of the breathing and the posture increasing the noradrenaline as a positive stressor. Again, we don't really know. And we don't have any way at this point of understanding this more based on the study. Now, I looked for other studies on this breathing exercise. There was one from Pakistan in 2022, but I couldn't find the results of the study. I could only find where they designed the study of what they said they would do. So with that, like I said, I think it's intriguing. While I wouldn't put 100% of my belief in it, I also think a few deep breaths a couple times a day isn't going to hurt us, right? So why not? Maybe give it a shot. And if you notice something, fantastic. If you don't, I also wouldn't worry about it. But that's the scoop, friends. Senobi breathing. Will it help you lose weight? I don't really know. I wouldn't hang my hat on that study, but I also think it could be interesting to play with. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideofries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. I truly love hearing from you. Abby Sharp, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And friends, if you are not already, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithasideofries.com/membership. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and above all, your health. On top of this week's episode in full video with some behind the scenes content, your 24/7 Ask Me Anything on the community board, you'll get this week's recipe for the Mediterranean bowls that are high protein, high fiber, quality fat, all together. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.